I'm just a normal kind of Joe Schmo. I voted this year for the first time in my 40-year life because I always was one of the people who sat back and said, oh, who's going to listen to me? I'm just a mother of 4 children. Right up until the day that Larry passed away, I did everything like everyone else does. Get up in the morning and go to work, and I worked 2 full-time jobs. I was always really, really busy. And then that Sunday, May 23rd, just my whole world stopped. My friend Lee was in front of me. We got to the door and Lee put the key in to open the door, and the door started to open. It wasn't even locked. He opened up the door and he stepped inside, and I was like not even 2 steps behind him. And I could see it looked like he was sitting up on the couch with his legs all spread out in front of him. And I hollered to him, and I made my way around the door, and Lee started coming towards me, trying to close the door, telling me no, no, no. And I pushed, and we found him. I was hysterical. I was screaming and hollering. Help him, help him. And I couldn't look at him. And then when I did look, I realized it was too late. He left me a note, well, a note to myself and his sisters. He said, I love you, Mom. You couldn't have raised me better. But no explanation. So I'm just left with the whys. Three days after I found my son, I was frustrated and I didn't know what to do, and I kept asking why, and I couldn't understand. So I took a picture of my son and I went to Walmart. That was where he purchased the rifle. And I went up to the sporting section and I said I wanted to see the person that sold this boy a gun. And they said, well, they couldn't tell me who it was. And it probably wouldn't be a good idea for me to see that person. I just wanted someone to really be hurt and live with what I have to live with. And I said, I do know now what it is that I want from you. I want you to not sell these guns to kids anymore. And they told me that they were completely following the gun laws in Maine. And if I wanted to be able to change that, then I would have to talk to my congresspeople. And I said, I'll do just that. And then I called Margaret Craven, and she asked me if I would meet her at the Dunkin' Donuts on Main Street.
Well, when I met Cathy, of course I connected to her as a mother, and I have 2 sons. And I cannot imagine in my life what it would be like to have either one of them die.
And she started to explain the process to me of how legislation works, and that she would have to submit a bill.
And why would we have another family that this would happen to, you know, any family, that their child, that this could happen to them. And that's the reason that I took on the challenge of sponsoring the bill when she asked me.
How old are you going to be? 2. No, you're going to be 3. What's your name?
Over here. That's Nanny. That's right. You're going to sit with Nanny?
My mom always kept us really close. So I had hoped to be the same with my kids and my grandchildren. I have a daughter, Mandy, who's 24 years old. My daughter, Christina, is my middle child, and she is 22. And then Larry and Becky were the twins.
He always called me his little sister because he was always a minute older than me. Larry used to tell me all the time that he was always the better looking one.
And we were typical brother and sister. He was a pain in my butt and kind of left him home. Just like my other sisters, they always left me home.
He worked at my work at Russell Park, and all the residents there loved him. They thought he was hilarious. You know, there was a lot of women up there that wouldn't let men touch him, but when it came to him, they didn't care because they knew how he was. You know, he was a kind person.
My husband and I were divorced when the twins were about 1.5 years old. Larry and I were really, really close. People used to tease him because he was a big mama's boy. He was such a great kid, and I don't think I told him enough. He wanted to be in the military police, and he was sure that's what he wanted to do. So I agreed that I would sign for him to join the military, which he did. He was still finishing high school. He moved out last August on his own. He had just turned 18 in July. Larry lived in the building directly across my driveway. So that's why when Larry first died, I couldn't go out because I'd start down the stairs and I'd get panic attacks. Or I'd come in from work and I'd have an okay day, and as soon as I pulled in the yard, I was a mess. It's still hard.
The bill that Cathy Crowley and I came up with has the number LD 310. It would require a 10-day waiting period before a firearm can be sold or transferred to any person under age 22. Cathy Crowley is convinced that if Larry didn't have access to a gun so quickly that he wouldn't have shot himself. If he had to wait 10 days, certainly he would have gotten beyond the despair that was causing him to think that this was the only way out.
A lot of suicides are spontaneous. That the feeling you need to commit suicide, things are so black, passes after a while, or particularly if you can get some help, or particularly if you just get through this period, you can lead a happy life. But if there's a gun around, it's so lethal that you're very likely to die.
If there was a waiting period, my Larry would still be here.
Well, to get this bill passed, what I'm going to do first, of course, is to get co-sponsors that are influential and that will be able to make convincing arguments for the bill.
Thank you very much for signing my bill. And so I was wondering if you'd be willing to sign for it.
I have to.
Thank you very much. You're a good man.
Because I got one about gun shows.
You know, you're running around asking people to sign your bills, and they're running around, everybody else is running around, you know, getting you or whoever to sign your bills. And then if you know somebody has a really good bill that you want to get on, you know, you run up to them and say, I want to sign your bill. I want to know if you'd be willing to sign on to the bill.
I'd probably want to look at it more than I have to this point.
Oh, it's just a concept bill, actually. This is the entire bill.
But we have a lot of bills like this. So as chair, I'd be happy to consider that.
Okay.
But as chair of the committee, what I try to do with all the gun bills is see what's doing what with each one. So if you wouldn't mind giving me a little bit of time, when do you need to have this?
She gave me a book with all the legislators in it. There's like 186, I think. And I said, okay, I'll write to all of them. These ones right here, I called, and they're not sure, but I did talk to them, so I X'd them.
She's having panic attacks all the time, and I can't believe she's gone through with it because of that problem. But she's strong-willed, and I'm proud of her, and I hope it does help somebody someday.
I just don't want you guys to be embarrassed by stuff that I do or say or...
I think it's good. I think it will help a lot of other kids and their parents.
That's what I think, and that's why I think it's worth it. But not at the cost of you guys being ashamed.
I think we're all in agreement that it's a good thing. Nobody should have to suffer what we went through. And if it can be prevented for another kid, even one, it was worth it.
Well, then I'll have to put you guys to work. Like the next 196 envelopes that need to be written on and stamped and self-addressed and...
The Criminal Justice Committee holds a public hearing as the first step for the bill.
985.
Anyone can testify for or against the bill, and experts testify too.
32.
I went to Staples this morning to make some copies of my stuff that I need for my presentation tomorrow. And this is going to be like the cover sheet. I just decided yesterday that I was going to do these little pamphlets because I wasn't sure exactly what to bring with me, but I want to make sure that the Criminal Justice Committee understands that what I'm saying is the truth. This is where I read some of my facts. Most of my stuff I got off the computer.
I'm far too impulsive.
And I just hope my presentation goes well. Before you, I now stand as one, but with your vote, we will stand as many. I ask as parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, how could we not vote yes on this bill?
So, are you ready for Monday?
I think I'm as ready as I'm going to be. Well, I'm very nervous.
Are you nervous? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think that it's natural to be nervous. So, go ahead and be nervous. So, did you want to look at my testimony?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have copies of that, but I'll give you a copy of that on... Not to interrupt, but are you having written testimony?
Yes. That's why I wanted to see if yours was going to start out anything like mine, because I'm very nervous about that.
You didn't bring yours, did you?
My daughter's typing it for me right now. But I started mine off similar. I put, good morning, Senator Diamond, Representative Blanchett, ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. So should I change that to "and members of the committee"? Or just leave it ladies and gentlemen?
Either way is fine. Although, you know, in your case, if you're telling your story, you know, you would probably do better not reading your testimony and passing your testimony out and just telling your story from your heart, really. Okay. That's what I would suggest, because that's what's going to make a difference and get people.